Welcome to the Keto Geek Podcast. Let's do this.
Health, nutrition, fitness, low-carb lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keto Geek Podcast. This episode is sponsored by, Keto Geek. And if you are looking for some amazing low-carb, keto-friendly snacks, then we've got you covered. And you can go to ketogeek.com to buy some awesome keto and low-carb friendly snacks, such as our chocolate fudge energy pod or our pecan coconut energy pod, which seem to be quite the favorite in our community and a lot of people who have tried it out, including people who are not in the ketogenic or low-carb community, which is pretty cool. To do a little bit of house cleaning before we begin this episode, we will be going to the Fancy Food Show in San Francisco at the end of this month. I think it's in the 20-something, 22nd, 23rd. I don't remember the exact dates. But we will be there to scout around, to go and walk into the Lion's Den, or the Carb Festival as we call it, and see what's out there. Maybe it's about time we get some keto-friendly, low-carb snacks into the food world. And it'll be an interesting observational test. Besides that, we are well into beta testing our Nutty Carnivore Diet protocol. And I've been on this for about 5 to 6 months. And it's a very simplified nutritional food pyramid, which involves consuming unlimited amount of meat and eggs, mostly steak and eggs, or if you can't afford steak, you can get cheaper meat such as 80-20 beef. So just consume those till you feel satiated and your hunger just gets curb stomped. And then you use our keto-friendly energy pods as a supplement to this diet to kill your sweet tooth. So that's basically the heart of this diet, and it allows you to wean off from sweeteners as well, because we have products that have varying levels of sweeteners involved. So it's kind of really cool. We also have a Facebook group now dedicated to the Nutty Carnivore Diet Protocol, but you do not have to join it. Our newsletter will link the article and all the write-ups pertaining to this way of eating. If you are interested, please go and sign up for our newsletter, and you will be updated ASAP on this diet, and you can get on board with it. The philosophy behind this podcast is interesting. When I first came across Matt and Megha on KetoConnect, I saw them as a paragon of change for a lot of people. They were simplifying a lot of complicated nutrition and science concepts into bite-sized portions. And at the same time, they were creating a beautiful community that people can look up to, can aspire from. And that's very important once you get yourself into a lifestyle. Especially when the entire world is telling you that you're going to die of heart disease, cancer, and various other chronic conditions. So these people show you a very human aspect of a ketogenic diet. I decided to reach out to them and crack this code and figure out, where do you stop? Because it's very tempting in this sea of information overload to go down these rabbit holes of knowledge. And I think the challenge of the modern world is not knowledge itself. It's the ability to distill knowledge, figure out what's relevant, and apply it to your life in a simplified way. And I think if science cannot simplify itself, simplify my life, then that science may not be relevant to me. It may be fun to think about it, but if it's just going to make my life harder, is it really worth it? That's the question I'll leave you guys to think about. Let's get back to the show, and I'll give you guys a brief introduction on who Matt and Megha are as far as KetoConnect is concerned. Matt and Megha are the co-founders of KetoConnect, and they run a ketogenic food blog and YouTube channel. On their channel, they share recipe videos and experiments they conduct within their ketogenic lifestyle. They now also host a podcast called Keto For Normies, where they interview guests within and beyond the ketogenic diet. Matt has always had a passion for cooking and living a healthy lifestyle. He spends his days as a computer engineer and his nights engineering delicious low-carb meals. Originally from Dearborn, Michigan, he has spent the last 4 years in Columbus, Ohio, San Francisco, California, and recently moved to Philadelphia, the birthplace of KetoConnect and freedom. Freedom? Really, Matt? What kind of freedom? He's a diehard fan of Michigan football, perfectly ripe avocados, and hip-hop music. Although Megha just graduated from University of San Francisco School of Law, based on her cooking, you would think she graduated from a culinary school. She loves to challenge herself on a daily basis and pulls inspiration from friends and family. She spent the past 3 years in San Francisco getting acquainted with the West Coast people, but more importantly, West Coast food. She is now happy to be back in Philadelphia, where she uses her San Francisco influence on a daily basis while working on KetoConnect. So these two people are amazing human beings. I would recommend following them, especially if you are a busy person and would like to have information simplified for you. Anyway, let me bring to you Matt and Megha from KetoConnect. Welcome back, humans. Today we have KetoConnect, the guy and the gal behind KetoConnect with us, Matt and Megha on board with us. These are two of my favorite people on Earth, I would say, in this universe, entire universe, just to make it sound more epic. Anyway, Matt, Megha, how art thou?
We're doing great. How are you?
We're amazing.
Doing great. We're here in California. Again, a nice and warm sunny day, which nobody can see right now. I was just turning behind in my window to kind of look at it, but it's impossible. Anyway, so let's talk about the world of keto. And first of all, I really think of you guys as part of our family, this whole keto sphere where people like yourself really create a positive influence in this entire movement sphere, whatever you want to call it. But I'm really curious, how did you guys get into the keto lifestyle? What happened?
Great question. Well, it started after we met, actually. It was actually relatively early on in our relationship. I've always been pretty health conscious, trying different things, which I think a lot of people that finally land on keto, they've kind of tried a lot, and that gives them a little bit of assurance that, you know, this is really a little bit different, and it actually is like very optimal for your body. So I guess what really got me to want to try keto, and there's always like a weird thing that sticks with you at a certain time in your life when you're like ready for it. It was the film, That Sugar Film. And he doesn't even necessarily promote keto in it, but he kind of describes like, you know, healthy foods and how much actual sugar is in those. So he would show you like a normal breakfast, yogurt, granola, and orange juice. And it's like 70 grams of sugar or something crazy. So it just kind of struck me as like, wow, I think I'm eating pretty healthy, but I'm getting probably like 120 grams minimum of sugar every day and all these healthy foods. So I'm like, if I take that out, that's a lot. How different am I going to feel? I couldn't even like really imagine how different I could feel. So it was something I wanted to try, and we just kind of tried it. We just started dating. So I was like, let's try this. So she was like, yeah, I want to do it too. And we did it for a while. And I think having each other is something that really helped us stick to it. And, you know, it sucked at first, like always, like you go through the low energy phases, just getting headaches and stuff. But afterwards, maybe like a week in, we definitely noticed, like the first thing I noticed was the no 2 o'clock crash, which is huge for me because I used to play sports, be very athletic, but now I'm just about trying to be productive every day and getting a lot of things done. And that's like the current main reason I still do keto. And, you know, it's a huge benefit.
And for me personally, like Matt said, I kind of just jumped on board with him because I was excited about our relationship. I was excited about a new diet change. And I was always tinkering with what I was eating anyway. But the first thing I noticed that made a big impact was my menstruation cycle. It lightened up and I had less cramps. I wasn't bloated. I was less moody, and like the intense hunger for like needing chocolates and having to, satisfy that craving kind of went away. And it's still the case today. So I think that in itself was enough for me to be like, all right, well, I feel more balanced hormonally. I'm going to stick to this diet and see how long it takes me to feel otherwise.
Okay. So how long ago was this?
I think at this point it was like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
At least. Yeah.
And we're both the type of people that are like, we live to eat. I'd say there's two types of people, eat to live or live to eat. We're definitely live to eat. So it's like a pretty constant struggle with us of, trying to just keep our food intake under control and healthy. And that's another huge benefit we get from a keto diet.
Got it. So you guys have, one of you is an engineer. The other person has been a law student. Why the hell cooking?
That's a great question. So I'm the engineer. So I was out of college for like 4 years working at a desk job. And, everything up to my life to that point was like, once you get your job out of college, you sail off into the sunset. And it couldn't have been further from the truth, because you're making good money and stuff, but you're not happy with your life, your day-to-day life, sitting down at a desk for 8 hours. And she is actually very lucky because she didn't have to put up with that struggle. I think she had a job for like 3 or 4 months before we made KetoConnect a full-time thing. But on the side, we were just always cooking. It's something we love to do. We lived in San Francisco when we first started keto. Every Saturday we would like go to the farmer's market and just with nothing in mind, just like see what looks good and get it, and then cook dinner at home that night. And it was just like a shared passion. And then at some point, we just wanted to start a food blog, started doing things, and people liked it.
And Matt's also, I've probably mentioned this a lot, he's very cheap. So when we first started dating, as opposed to taking me out on fancy dates and eating a lot of steaks at steakhouses, which I would love, he wanted to just cook everything. And as much as I love to do it, I grew up eating out all the time. So I would have probably preferred that. But now, I mean, I couldn't imagine eating out every meal, and seeing people do it is just insane. It's insane to me because you don't know what you're getting and you're putting into your body. And that like kind of scares me.
Because I don't want to pay for it when I can make it at home.
Hey, but Bay Area engineers do make a decent living. Just saying.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. I mean, I could have understood the mom saying, hey, eat at home, it's healthier sort of argument. But, Bay Area. But then again, food is also really expensive here at the same time. So what kind of books or mentors or resources did you guys use while you were transitioning or you began this journey?
The biggest one for me, as dumb as it may sound, is just Reddit/r/keto. It's like a forum basically for keto. It has like a really good FAQ. That was like definitely the starting point, which the starting point of any of my hobbies is basically Reddit. I just like find the subreddit and I learn everything there is to learn about it. But as far as like doctors and stuff, lately I really like listening to what Amber O'Hearn has to say. She says a lot of good things. But starting out, Gary Taubes, all of his books are really good. Megha really likes Jason Fung.
The obesity code.
Yeah, we've kind of like checked off all of the basic keto staples, and we take a little bit from each, but then we kind of apply it. We don't really like preach anything that we haven't in ourselves tried and like put into practice. And so like a year ago, we were huge intermittent fasting people. Like that was what we would tell as a recommendation. But over time, your opinions evolve. So like now, maybe not so much into the intermittent fasting.
Yeah. And I really, as opposed to getting knowledge, like what fascinates me is the science aspect, or like your body changing into a state of ketosis to, use fat as fuel source and all of that. So I like doing that kind of research. But as far as mentors and books go, I think just, changing my diet, changing my macro ratios and seeing how I feel is the best way I gauge like how I should move forward. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, I think, don't understand that. They just think like, it fits everyone the same, and what Matt and Megha do, I should do. But that's in fact like the opposite. You should definitely figure out what works best for you.
And one of the things that I love about you guys are that you're absolutely weird, but at the same time, very normal at the same time. Like, you guys don't go into the nth degree of every explanative concept that exists on the face of the earth, like investigative nutritionalist of some sort. So how do you guys figure out, how do you do this? How do you distill some of this complicated stuff and bring it to the people? And how do you know when is it time to stop right there instead of getting into this rabbit hole?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I do like to go down the rabbit hole a lot for myself just to try getting a really good understanding of it. But I mean, throughout like the last 20 or 30 years, there's always, you know, the doctor, the scientist saying, this is what you need to do to lose weight, but no one's doing it. So I think there definitely needs to be like some kind of a middleman there that makes it more simple. That's how kind of the way I think of ourselves. You know, just making it seem more approachable because we're two normal, you know, almost 30-year-old people living a normal life. We eat a very different diet from what you would consider like the mainstream diet. But and I guess it's like everyone's at a different point in their journey, and, you know, just making the best decision available to you that you can possibly make at that time is a big step. So like, you know, we have a bunch of recipes that are like cookies, things like that. Like, they're not things that we want to eat every day, and it's definitely far from optimal, but it's significantly better than, you know, like Oreos and stuff. So I think just being a middleman and just kind of simplifying the experience, and really just the big thing is like you can go and look for studies all day, every day. And you'll look at the abstract and that'll like stick in your mind for 10 minutes. You'll tell a few friends about it, but it's not really something that sticks with you as much as if you go on YouTube and you find a guy who's actually done the thing that he's telling you about. That's a different thing. So like when you see recently I did a 4K 21-day challenge, 4,000 calories a day for 21 days, kind of testing the theory of calories in, calories out. Can you gain weight on a keto diet just by overeating? And, you know, there's a lot of studies. I read all the studies on what should happen when you do that, but I actually did it and I have an answer of what did happen for me. So I think that is just like a really valuable piece of information in addition to all of the actual like hard science and studies.
Yeah, and I think going to that, Matt, people just want convenience and to be able to relate to one another. I think that's the best way we connect, right? So if you have a story about your mom or your dad, and the same thing happened to my mom or dad, like we can connect on that level. So if we're on this keto journey ourselves as a couple and we're doing experiments, and then you decide to implement that with your partner or yourself, and you get same results, then you feel connected. And I mean, I think keto's huge with community. Like I've never seen like a diet or like a way of life that's so much more community oriented. Maybe like Weight Watchers is like something like that, but
vegan too, but they all fight with each other.
That's true. but keto is different from what I've noticed. And I think being able to relate to one another and, you know, just put information out there that people can enjoy watching at the same time. Like we make jokes, we make fun of each other, and people love that. So yeah, being middleman is something I think is missing, but we're kind of filling.
So one of the things when you make a change is everybody in your social circle starts to disagree with you, and those are the last people that sometimes understand what you're trying to do. How has your social circle evolved since this entire journey? And considering the fact that you guys are technically influencers.
Yeah, that's a good question. I honestly don't really like preach much. I just kind of do my own thing. My friends all know I do this, but they haven't started keto or anything. I guess the social circle is kind of just something you can create for yourself. I think that's what we have done, because the people we're interacting with every day is not really like I'll text my friends and stuff once in a while, but I'm like so immersed in this right now, which is building, like we talk to other keto influencers and just constantly learning. We have our own podcast now, which is great because you actually get to interview people and learn. So I would say it's kind of like creating your own social circle. And it is a little bit different for us because we, like most people that we meet, know that we do this. So it's kind of like a foregone conclusion, like this is what we do. But if you are, you know, you're trying to lose weight or you're just trying to get healthy and you're just starting a keto diet, it can obviously be a little bit intimidating, especially if you're like an overweight person who's like, I'm going to eat a high fat diet. All your friends are going to look at you weird, obviously, like this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But it's just something. I think the best advice would be to lead by example. and become more knowledgeable on the actual like science behind it, so you can have conversations with people. But like most people aren't ready to have their mind changed about anything. So you just kind of have to lead by example.
Yeah, I mean, exactly the same goes for me, except my family is very hesitant towards the entire idea of like consuming a lot of fat and all. And so as long as I say like I'm eating a good steak every single day, my dad's happy. He's like, oh, you're feeding yourself well. You're eating steak. And actually, since I've started the keto diet, whenever I go home, my dad's like, you look too skinny. Like you got to eat more meat. And eating meat is like the solution to everything in my family. And this time I went back and he was like, oh, you look good. You don't look anemic anymore. And I was like, I've made you proud, Dad. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't look anemic. But yeah, I mean, just figuring out what works best for you, and then either deciding to respond to people who question what you're doing or not. I mean, it's really how you decide to approach it.
And we just dropped a word called community as well. And so what would be some of the good reasons why people would come to KetoConnect and join your group or follow you? Sell yourself, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to be us specifically, but the keto community in general. I think the biggest thing is just for adherence and accountability. It's really good. I always recommend like Instagram, because you can share your pictures of your food. You can make stories. You can talk through troubling times. It's just a really good thing. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people is good. In a sense that it'll just help you stick to things. And it's hard for people to have accountability partners. We're lucky enough we have each other. A lot of people start a keto diet. They don't have their spouse or their family on board with it. It's just like a solo endeavor. And definitely for that, you need some source of community. That's like the biggest thing that will help you stick to a diet long term, I think.
And then I think the one thing that differentiates us that people do like a lot, and you're seeing more and more of the experimentation, but what we experiment constantly. So 1 week to the next, we'll be doing something different with our diet to give our audience and ourselves like value and information on the diet itself. We're less so concerned about the numbers on the ketone meter and how great we feel or energetic, but more so like what's the best route about optimizing our lives and how we feel day to day. And so doing diets like the 4K or challenges like the 4K challenge or a carnivore week or egg fast. I mean, yeah, they might be dumb ideas or they might not work for us, but people can see that and then they can apply it, or they can be like, nah, that's not for me. And I like that we do that. And I like we're not just preaching one thing all the time, because, you don't want to be stuck in it. Matt always says this. You don't want to be in the same echo chamber. You want to get different perspectives to form your own.
How do you guys figure out whether this 4K challenge is not going to kill you or any of these challenges?
That is a great question. I honestly did not feel good. Like I definitely felt at some point, the thought ran through my head like, keto diet YouTuber dies at age 29 of heart attack from 4,000 calorie challenge. That definitely, I thought about that. But I don't know. I'm pretty just ready to push the bounds a little bit. I think just the way we started a keto diet is most people that are in the keto community are kind of like questioning things, and they're kind of, ready to take a little bit more perceived risk. It's not, I wouldn't say it's actual risk, but you're going against the standards. You're going against what the government tells you. So I don't know. I'm just pretty open to do a bunch of things. Honestly, the 4K challenge is probably the most extreme one we've done, and it wasn't really even that extreme.
Yeah, and I just checked in on him every day. I was like, how does your liver feel? How does your body feel? I mean, you got to do those things with yourself, so I'm glad I was there to do it for him.
She noticed my back dimples forming.
Yeah, he was definitely changing body comp-wise.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you guys doing this full-time now, or is that still something part-time?
Yeah, go ahead.
We've been actually, I quit my job first after 3 months, but we've been doing both of us full time around like 7 months, I would say. At least 7 months. And I mean, we've worked harder in our lives than we've ever have. Running your own business is just, is a full time job and then some. Like there's no time off, there's no breaks. And I couldn't imagine any other way.
Yeah, it is really great. The thing is, though, there is a little bit of beauty in the come home from work at 5 p.m. and that's like you don't have anything else to think about. You're checked out. There's no checking out when you run your own business. You're always checked in, and you're like partially checked in at times, which is really draining on your energy. But yeah, we have the YouTube channel. But our main source of income is the food blog, which has a lot of keto recipes, a lot of takes on recipes that maybe you've been missing since you started a keto diet, kind of like transitional stuff, I would say, just to get you a healthier option of something maybe you've been missing.
Awesome. So do you guys have any sort of physical routines that you do, or any plans that you follow, or something that you do on a regular basis or a daily basis?
Yeah, we have a few things. We just got a puppy recently, which has cut into a lot.
Yeah, it's screwed up.
But we go to the gym pretty regularly. I like to meditate in the mornings, but that is something that I've definitely been slacking on lately. But in general, we are pretty regimented. Like, we have a wind down period at night. We try to stop working at the latest at like 7 p.m. or something. We'll watch some shows, maybe answer some emails. We go to bed early. We go to bed at like 10:30, and we generally wake up. And we do also do a couple weird things. So we tape our mouth shut when we sleep. That's something we've been doing for maybe 2 or 3 months now. I wear the blue blocker glasses for the last couple hours of night, just to kind of like have your mind kind of shutting down, because if you're always getting the blue lights even close to bedtime, it's not really signaling for that it's like close to bedtime. And that's mostly it. We're early risers. We wake up like 6, 7, get a lot of work done in the first few hours of the day.
Yeah. The only thing I really do is make a list the night before for the following day. Because if I don't have a list of things to do, I would just do nothing. I would just sit on my phone all day. But other than that, I'm not good with routine. I'm very chaotic. Like, I'm constantly stressed, anxious, fidgety. I don't know. It's tough for someone like me to have a routine, because if I stray from it, then I'm stressed and I punish myself. So I like to just try to be as free flowing as possible. So if I see like a movie where a guy's a super stoner and he's just chilled all the time, I'm like, I want to embody him every single day. How do I do that? I just want to be really relaxed. Yeah. So I try to make that a reality, but it's difficult.
I think you might have answered that question in that question with the word stoner in there.
Exactly.
So what can people in your community or in general do to make your tireless, exhausting life easier? Is there something that you might have noticed that could help you guys?
What the community can do to help us?
Yeah.
I don't really know about that. I guess like just getting feedback from people is always great. What I really like is sometimes we run certain challenges. Like for the start of last year, 2017, we had like a 20 under 20 challenge to start the year. So 20 days in a row, under 20 carbs, 20 net carbs a day. Just cool things like that. And just constantly getting feedback from people is great. Just sharing recipes. And I really like, the thing that helps me the most is these Instagram challenges. Like right now I'm doing a 10-day zero carb challenge on Instagram, which it's up till Christmas. So that's cool. Just stuff like that. I think just the community aspect is great.
Yeah, I guess I don't think about our community like that, because I'm so focused on wanting to bring value to you guys. So it's hard to think about it in the reverse ever.
Yeah, I guess sometimes we get recommendations of like products to review. We do product reviews on our channel and just like different recipes to make. That always helps, but we're more about helping you guys. You don't need to help us.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that you guys encapsulate really well is the word altruism, which is amazing, and which is why I'm a huge fan of you guys. And that's one of the reasons why you guys are very successful in the keto sphere and well recognized. If you have good intentions, I think people recognize that right away. So let's get back to the ketogenic diet. What are some of the common issues that you might have noticed in people when they start a ketogenic diet?
Great question. I think it's just obsessing over everything. There's 90% of your benefits are just going to come from, under 20 net carbs a day, generally trying to eat higher fat than you have probably been in the past, and, kind of just set it and forget it. That's going to work for most people. Most people, like the 45-year-old mother of 3 who's just trying to like lose weight, feel better. That's fine. You don't have to like stress about macros, all this stuff, But as far as like so with a keto diet, I think a lot of people, it's, to feel better and to kind of calorie restrict, but it doesn't have to be restricting when you're calorie restricting with a keto diet. It comes naturally. So some things that get in the way of that, like get in the way of just your normal hunger signaling, would be like making keto desserts and having them all the time. All these Quest bars and stuff, they're good transition foods. If you ate McDonald's last night for dinner, the whole Happy Meal, like the fries and all, and then today you're trying to start keto, maybe a Quest bar is where you're at today. But you want to continually progress towards getting better, getting towards whole foods, not really as much sweeteners, because you're not going to really get in tune with your hunger if you're always having these super palatable foods. Like, I know when I eat a steak, I'm full, but I can easily eat, a brownie, a cookie, things like that, even if they're keto friendly ones. So I just think being conscious of that is really important. Like, ask yourself, that's why I really like the carnivore diet, or the nutty carnivore diet, is because I do want to go back to the nutty carnivore diet in a little, though, is because you're so in tune with your hunger signaling, and you just realize, like, if I'm done eating meat, I'm probably not actually hungry, but I just want to have like the mouth pleasure of a brownie or something.
Yeah. And I think food aside, I think a lot of people go wrong with their mental state of thinking like, all right, I have 5 carbs left. What can I fill that with? As opposed to, really listening to like, am I full? Am I done eating? And people want to get away with as much as possible as opposed to feeling the best, if that makes sense. So like, oh, if I eat 2 Quest bars today, will I feel just as good? If so, should I try 3 tomorrow? It's like, you want to eat as much like processed, delicious things, but still feel the benefits of truly optimizing on a keto diet, which is not like the best mindset to be in if you really want to get all the benefits or you have actual like metabolic damage.
Yeah, there's a mindset shift that happens. And I think this is like the huge step where you're actually really making progress. It's what can I get away with to what is actually making me feel really good. And I think I'm at that point now, which I just want to eat foods that make me feel good. I don't care about how great it tastes. And if I can get away with it and it'll only marginally affect me, I probably don't want to have that.
And here again, I'm just going to keep patting you guys on the back again and again. Here's where the human experience aspect of it comes into play, where you're not being so restrictive, you're being easygoing. If it works for you and you're getting your results, then kudos. Is that a good way to put it?
I would say so, but always be striving for better. There's always better.
Definitely. You guys are consistently evolving. Everybody else should be too. So what are some of the things that people do that actually work really well for them?
I think going lower carb than even a keto diet would recommend, like the typical, the keto diet that's on the news, the 5% carb diet. I think generally you're going to feel better the lower carbs you go. A lot of that could be, removing. So when we first started a keto diet, we were doing this 10 cups of vegetable a day salad, like the huge salad, and then also some additional vegetables at lunch, some broccoli and stuff. And at that time, I was like, whoa, I'm feeling great. This is, this is the best I've ever felt in my life. But then I'd say the jump from a standard diet to that type of keto diet, the jump was just as big as going from that type of keto diet to an almost zero carb diet or just very minimal carb diet. And I think a lot of it is, just some reactions to certain plants that I don't really know I have, but it's just kind of like minor, and all of that just kind of stresses you and lowers your energy throughout the day. So taking out almost all the carbs you're taking in is definitely a good starting point. And this is where we're going with the nutty carnivore. Like, you can start adding in some nuts if you want. So like for me, just a strict carnivore diet, like steaks every day, that's not really my thing. But starting with maybe some eggs, a bulletproof coffee to get my day going, I love doing that. And then I'll generally just have a fatty piece of meat for dinner. And I know a big point of contention in some of the keto community is carb ups. And we were definitely at a point early on in our keto diet where we were like, I'm feeling a little low energy. I'm not quite performing as well as I should be in the gym. Maybe a carb up is what's necessary. So we did a series of carb ups, which is basically just a high carb day once a week. We tried that for a month, and afterwards we went even lower carb because I was like, I don't like this. I just want to do keto again. And the feeling completely went away of feeling low energy in the gym. So I think like when you're doing a fringe keto diet, like 20, 30, 40 net carbs a day, you're going to have the low energy feeling like, maybe I need a carb up. Maybe that's just kind of how my body works. I would say that will go away if you just like cut out even more carbs, go real low, go 10 total carbs. Try that for a little while.
And then for me, I'm big on a mental state and having the right mindset. So I found people that have the most success, myself included, is when they include other aspects into their keto diet or their new life instead of just like the right foods. So they're also working out, or they're getting enough sleep, or maybe they're meditating or reading or building better relationships, because, the people you surround yourself with and the things you do day to day are really who you are. And I mean, that'll creep into what you're eating. So if I don't get a good night's sleep, I feel like eating brownies the next day.
Yeah.
So for me, sleep is huge. And that's why we go to sleep early and we like to get up early, because that's how we function best. So whatever works for you, I think focusing on your food at first is important. But then once you get that keto food aspect down, starting to incorporate other ways to better your life overall is how you're going to see the most success overall.
Yeah, that's actually incredibly huge, because so many people think you take out the bad foods, put in the good foods. You just kind of do the keto macros and your life just, snaps into place, where that's part of it, but that's a small part of it. Like sleep is a huge one. All these things, it has to be like a holistic change, and diet can definitely start the snowball to the whole life change. But there's other things that can start the snowball too. Like sleep is a huge one. And if you've never kept a sleep journal or kind of just kept tabs on this, the days that you get bad night's sleep, the next day you're always more likely to overeat. Your willpower is significantly lowered. And if you I went 26 years of my life with never correlating this. I'm like, today I'm just hungry. I don't know what's going on here. But if you just start picking up on these things, sleep is so huge for actual just willpower and control over your hunger and appetite.
That's fascinating. I have still to get into the rabbit hole of sleep and all the studies on it. I see Rob Wolf posting on it all the time. I'm coming for you guys. So are there any unique paradoxes or stories? Let's rule out Sean Baker, by the way, for now.
Okay.
But that you might have noticed during this entire journey that really struck out from your community or the people around you in the keto sphere?
There's a lot of good ones. Obviously, I'm more into the carnivore thing now, but we interviewed a few people on our podcast that have just had totally huge life transformations, like 185 pounds loss. They're just running every day, like Keto Fit with Tiff is her name. We had her on our podcast recently. There's just so many people that are really taking control of their health. And, it's tough because the current, the government is not helping you. The current health recommendations are not correct. So it's really admirable that these people take their lives into their own hands. Anyone who's used a keto diet to lose 100 pounds and just kind of change their life around is inspirational. And we have, a ton of those people in our community.
Yeah, or even reverse their diabetes. Like that,
yeah, we
that
just
blows my
interviewed a guy
mind.
today who reverses diabetes.
Okay, so what can people expect on your podcast, and what can they expect on your Instagram, and what can they expect on your YouTube channel?
The podcast is a little bit of a mix. I know yours is more science-based, I would say, doctors. Ours is a little bit of that, but it's also stories from people who have used a keto diet, from just normal people who, like I talked about, the 185-pound weight loss, reversing diabetes, things like that. And really, it's cool because we just whatever we want to talk about, we can kind of seek out a person. So lately, we've had a bunch of people on the carnivore diet on lately. But I'm also really into nootropics is another thing I want to start diving down, get a few people on for that. Just all kinds of things. Food bloggers would be cool to have on too. We've already had one on, one or two on, and then the YouTube channel.
So yeah, our YouTube channel lately has been a lot of vlogs with Matt's challenge, but we mostly do recipe videos, which shows you that you can make this at home. It's not just going to turn out looking shitty and not like the Pinterest picture. So we make a lot of recipe videos, so it's easy for you to do it at home if you're not a cook. And then we also have like informational videos where we'll do our experiments and then we'll give you like a wrap up of like, this is what we benefited from and this is what you should stay away from. So just all our experiments.
Yeah, and we're not cooks either. That's the fun thing. So I know a lot of people. That's kind of the thing with keto is there's not a lot of things you can just get and you grab and go. Like there's no bag of chips really. There's pork rinds, but you don't want to be eating those all the time. So you kind of have to do some cooking, and it's actually odd because most kids my age can't really cook that well. We're kind of exceptions to the rule, I think. So we make it look easy, and it is easy. We generally have really easy recipes. So that's on our YouTube channel. And then the website?
And then IG is just like our day to day. So like today, Matt called me Big Sexy, also known as Kevin Nash. He's a wrestler.
NWO, the Wolf Pack.
So our IG is just like if you want to hang out with us and like we do goofy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys want to tell people about the website too, that'd be great. I think there's a blog there.
Yeah, it's mostly a food blog. We want to try getting more informational type posts on there. But yeah, it's pretty much just recipes. You can check out, like for holidays is a good time. You can check out Christmas cookies, things like that. We have all kinds of recipes on there.
Save the site.
Oh, KetoConnect.net, not .com. I cheaped out on the domain name. I went for the .net.
So I personally, anybody who's listening, I give these guys a total thumbs up because, like I said, there's something that is beyond science, and that's called human experience, the emotional side, the stories, and the connection you build. And if you don't have that, then the science itself should just fall apart. If it can't transcend into a beautiful experience for humanity, then there's no point in those science at all. And I know it sounds crazy and insane, but I just wanted to lay this down in front of everybody. So you guys have done some challenges. Let's talk about the 4K challenge and then go into any other challenges that you want to talk about. What happened in the 4K challenge?
Yeah, so this was actually a real tough one, and I didn't know what I was getting into when I started it. We are the type of people who, like, we can be laying in bed one night and tomorrow we'll hatch the plan to start a challenge, which that's not the way to do it, guys. Like, plan it out a little bit more. So the challenge was 4,000 calories a day for 21 days and just kind of, gauging the weight gain. I also tracked my blood glucose and ketones every morning waking up, but there's a few people who have done it. There's a guy named Sam Feltham who's done it. He did a 5K calorie challenge and he didn't gain any weight on a keto diet. And my macros were 86% fat, 14% protein, and like 2% carbs. So it was, skewing really high on the fat. And I was pretty interested to like kind of figure out what's going on in the body and how much weight you'll gain in 21 days. So I ended up gaining 7.2 pounds, which is, very significant. So kind of my takeaway is obviously calories matter a lot as far as weight gain goes. But people get confused when I say that because I'm not saying you have to count calories to lose weight. Like the approach to start a weight loss journey isn't let me start counting calories. It should be, switching to a keto diet, getting in good fats, good sources of nutrition, and the calories kind of come down automatically. But we actually learned a lot of cool stuff too as far as just overfeeding in general goes. So a lot of people have the 1 pound of body fat is 3,500 calories. And there's a lot of studies that disprove that. And it's kind of like as much weight as you'd think you'd gain eating this huge excess of calories, there's a huge variability person to person in how much our metabolism will adapt to the calories. So someone with a lot of metabolic damage, insulin resistance, when they just start eating 4,000 calories, their metabolism is probably not going to just like bounce up like mine did. And it's actually really cool. There's this thing called NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, I believe. And it's basically just like you fidget more when you're at a calorie surplus. You'll be like tapping your foot a lot more. And your body just figures out all these cool ways to burn through this huge surplus of calories you're giving it. And it turns out like 70% of the calorie surplus is kind of just accounted for by those other factors. So you don't gain as much as you think you would actually gain.
Yeah. And then what I found interesting too was that 21 days is not long enough to really give a good idea of what your body's going to do. So all the studies we were reading for overfeeding, they were 100 plus days. So you need at least a long period of time, at least 100 days to see if your body's actually going to be putting on weight at a substantial rate, or it's going to do what Matt's did and the metabolism's going to rise.
Yeah, that's another thing is the weight gain when you're overfeeding for a long time is not going to be linear. It's going to be like a little bit of an exponential curve because your body's like fighting at the start for the first 3 weeks up to like 2 months even. And then if you just keep going, like eventually it just starts adding on weight like crazy. There's been a few studies. There's one, it's called the Vermont Prison Experiment that really details this.
Because your body has a set point and, especially for women, like for me, my body wants to stay where it's at because I want to carry more fat. I want to give birth, like all those, the things that come into play for a woman, you need more fat. So I feel like I'd be more likely to put on weight and not lose weight.
Yeah, it's the same with weight loss plateaus too. If you're stalled for a long time, you probably don't need to make a drastic switch in diet or macros or anything. You probably just need to trust the process and you'll have, a big drop soon.
How is the mood and stability and lifestyle in general? And here's another one right next to it is, how did you even do that?
So you can check out the YouTube videos of the type of foods I was eating. That's one huge takeaway, obviously, is it's very hard to eat 4,000 calories worth of strict keto macro foods. That's the beauty of keto and why it's easy to lose weight on keto is because you can't eat that much. So I was making like some crazy mixtures of coconut oil and like almond butter and just butter. Like I had like an 8 tablespoon of butter fat bomb one day. It was just like some crazy stuff. The mood was not bad. Mood was pretty good overall. The main thing is just like the planning and inconvenience of actually eating 4,000 calories a day. It really cuts into things, especially if you're trying to go to the gym. Like once you eat for the day, which is generally going to be about 1,000 calories at least, that's it for the gym. Like you can't really go to the gym after that. So we would have to go early on in the morning, and then I would just kind of, do work, eat. But overall, my mood was fine. I did notice a few weird symptoms, so we do the mouth taping, I told you, when we go to sleep, and I couldn't breathe through my nose when I went to sleep at night. A lot of it I feel like is just like maybe not enough space in my body and just all of the added calories. But yeah, some weird stuff was definitely happening.
Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. Any other challenges that you have done besides this one that is crazy? Or
what's some other ones we've done? Well, we did like a 5-day zero carb experiment. That's what actually kind of led us down this whole path of the zero carb life. So we tried doing it for 5 days and we didn't really like it. I always describe it as the first time you try sushi. It's like, it's not great. It's okay. It's not great. But then like a few days later, you're like, whoa, like there's nothing else that really tastes like that. I kind of want it again. I feel like that's how I felt with the zero carb diet. While I was doing it, I was like, this is just such a departure from the norm of the way I eat that it's tough to do. But then, I started adding in a bunch of vegetables and stuff again. And I was like, I don't quite feel as good. And I think it's worth it to me to just kind of go back to that. So that was a good one. We've done basically like all the common things you'd find in the keto community, like egg fast, which I'd say are just dumb. Don't do that.
And we did a 4-day fast.
Oh yeah, 4-day water fast.
And that was a struggle. I look back. People ask us often, would we do it again? And I don't plan on doing that again. I know Matt says he wants to do like a 5-day fast, and I feel like there's definitely a lot of benefit to doing something like that. And also just re-gauging your relationship with food, like realizing that I am eating a lot of the time when I'm bored and I could just easily drink water or I'm not actually hungry. That came into play a lot, which was interesting. And I have like a weird relationship with food to begin with. So the fast was definitely like cleansing in some way, but it was also extremely painful to do mentally. And it was for the vlog. So I think that's the reason I stuck to it.
Yeah, no, the 4-day fast maybe was like the most I learned about myself. It was almost like a psychedelic experience in a sense, where like that is segmented in time. That's a thing that happened. You can't go back to it. It's there. You always kind of have the memory. But you learn so much about yourself. And on the fourth day without eating, and people go way longer than this, but this is just me. You notice the like leptin and ghrelin, just the signaling, like you're not actually hungry. It's the craziest thing happens is at noon, you're ready for lunch, right? If you don't eat lunch, actually, whether you do or don't eat lunch at 2 p.m., you're not going to be hungry. It's really crazy. So you really just figure out your actual hunger signals instead of like just, this is when I usually get food, so I'm going to eat. And that's like a huge takeaway. And you can just see like by all of these different experiments we've done, we get a ton of huge takeaways from them. And it just goes to show like you can read about this all you want, but you can also actually do it. And that's probably more of a learning tool.
Sounds great. What about a 30-day cold shower challenge?
Oh, that's one I've really like done battle with in the past. I've gone like 5 days in a row, I think, for the cold shower. But then I go to the gym, I come back and I'm like, I just want to do a hot shower today. I'm not doing the cold shower. Do you do the cold showers? I
did it for two Decembers, and in one of them I got bronchitis, so that wasn't fun. But I sometimes do that. I'll go like 7 days cold shower. The problem is when you go do yoga, which I do every morning, and I normally shower before I go to any of my exercises. I mean, the gals over there would probably smell me fantastic when I go there. But when you go do yoga with a cold shower, it feels like you're carrying brittle bones, and it's really painful. It doesn't work out. But if you guys are in, I'll take it.
Oh, I could do that for sure. I noticed great benefits from the cold showers, actually, just like productivity wise. We could do that January.
So I'm not someone who like there's certain things in life that I just won't touch. Like running, I never want to be a runner. I'm not going to start. I'm not going to be like, oh, let me download an app. Let me run a marathon. Like I don't understand people who run. And the same goes with cold showers. Like I would love to watch Matt suffer through it, but it's not my cup of tea.
All right. Well, let's do it, Matt, you and I, and let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay. January, cold shower January.
Sounds fantastic. I'm in. So shopping on budget, doing keto on budget, I think that's something that we touched on a little bit. Do you guys want to explain to people just some little hacks or ways or something that they need to that would help them while they're shopping with limited amount of cash flow?
Definitely. We actually have a real good meal plan for this you can get on our website. But there's a lot of good tips as far as budget keto goes. I think the big one is walk into the store, grab the sales paper. There's always going to be something on sale, a meat. Like your main cost is going to go into the protein. So you want to look for fatty cuts of meat, and those are generally the cheaper ones. Like whole chickens is real good. Chicken thighs, those are great. Like grass-fed ground beef you can usually get for $5 a pound at most. If you would have asked me a year ago, I wouldn't have given this tip, but I would just say like don't go nuts on the vegetables because $1 per calorie vegetables are just a terrible bargain. So if you want to still stick with some vegetables, I would say get some broccoli, asparagus, things like that. You don't really need like salad. What is salad really doing for you? It's so absence of calories. But like butter, if you really want to go like more of a grass-fed route, some hacks can be getting leaner cuts of meat and then getting grass-fed butter. Like the Kerrygold butter is pretty cheap, and generally, because if you want to stay away from like the conventional raised animals, really all the harmful and beneficial stuff is in the fat. So like if you get a lean chicken breast, probably not doing too much harm to yourself there, even with the conventional stuff. You can add in butter or coconut oil or whatever you want. And one thing I've been doing lately that I think is actually great when we're trying to do more of this carnivore diet, I think we're eating on like $11 a day, something like that, which is totally doable. Go to Costco or any kind of bulk store and you can get like a whole slab of New York strip steaks. And you want to look for the marbling. Obviously, you want to see that they're relatively good marbling, fatty. And that's a great way to go. I think it's about $6 a pound for like some good steaks.
Yeah, then we just cut it up ourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, buying in bulk is probably the best thing you can do for yourself, and just freezing it. We've done that several times. If there's a good deal, like why pass up on it? You can easily freeze it. And then staying away from processed stuff. Like everything that you buy is so expensive, like Quest bars, these things called energy pods. Just kidding. Those are delicious.
No, there's truth to that. They are expensive.
But they're so good. And they use ghee, which is so impressive. How did you get that flavor? Sorry. But yeah, I think just staying away from like processed snacks and like quick things to grab and go, those are going to be expensive.
Yeah, the odd thing is the healthier your keto diet gets, the cheaper it gets a lot of the time.
Yeah, and if you even going to want to go cheaper, I think there's, I think Ted Naiman does it, and that's basically 70-30, 80-20 beef with just eggs, and that's also one of the ways that I think could be done as well.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to add before I go to the next question, which is the exact opposite of this one?
I think that's pretty much it for that.
Okay, what if you have unlimited amount of money? How would you shop then?
That is a great question. We put a lot of money into our health, so I guess we kind of do that, not to the extreme, but grass-fed, grass-finished beef, obviously, like that would be the main source of nutrition in my expensive diet. But then I think you would probably want to add in some like some foie gras, some like fancy liver, stuff like that, like some salmon roe, get like really the nutrient-dense, high-cost foods. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We drink cod liver oil every once in a while. That's pretty expensive. There's a bunch of expensive things you can go with.
And then like fresh foods aside, if I had unlimited money, I'd probably buy every single supplement that looked cool or that tasted great. And I would just have it on a shelf. So if I wanted it that day and I was feeling a little, risky, I would just have it. I would have like exogenous ketones. I would have all the protein powders. I would just have everything.
Oh, I guess you could also just fly in Wagyu beef from Japan too, since that's like the highest fat and most delicious.
Well, so what about while traveling or on the go? Do you guys have some tips for those kind of people?
Yeah, that is a little bit tougher. Nothing's going to be optimal when you're doing that. And a lot of times at gas stations, you can get like hard-boiled eggs, which, you're buying hard-boiled eggs from the gas station. Probably not great, but I do that sometimes. Like string cheese, beef jerky, things like that. So there's always like the Quest bars, packaged goods. There's a ton of them now. There's like, energy pods. There's literally all different kinds of packaged goods to replace anything you could be missing. But what I do a lot of the time, I do this pretty much every day anyway, is a bulletproof coffee in the morning, but it really just helps you lock in some solid nutrition and fat in the morning, even when you're traveling. And pretty much everyone whose house you're staying at or any hotel is going to have butter. You can just do butter and coffee. I do that every morning.
And then every single fast food place has something. Like we do a lot of fast food videos as well. So KFC has like the grilled chicken. Yeah. Every place has a bunless burger. So when we're traveling, we don't like to snack as much. We've just found the best way to do it is to just get a keto meal, like stop somewhere one time, get a meal and like eat a lot. And then that'll just hold us over. But it's doable. A lot of people do fast food every single day and they still have good results.
Yeah, and since we've been a startup at Keto Geek, we just go to In-N-Out during our breaks and get the Flying Dutchmans, or sometimes we would take the cheese out, and I think that's a great way. And Wendy's, by the way, they have a great deal on the pound-for-pound beef as well.
Yeah.
All right, so did we discuss your journey, how it has changed throughout from the start to end?
I think we touched on it briefly. It kind of started with so it started with a ton of the processed foods, like Quest bars. We were having a Quest bar every night. We would split it. We would get different flavors, and that was like a fun thing we would do. And then we were doing more of, I would almost call it like kind of a scared to fully commit type of keto diet, which is just a generally nutritious diet. The thing everyone agrees on is nutritious, like tons of vegetables, some salmon, some olive oil, macadamia nuts, the beginner's keto diet, the person who's kind of scared to really dive in. And now, I'm fully dove in. Mostly red meat now is what I prefer to eat. Limited vegetables, but like I'll eat vegetables occasionally. It's going to be like broccoli, asparagus, things like that. Things that aren't such high volume like lettuces. I'm totally anti-lettuce now. But that's kind of how we've progressed. And I think just constantly figuring out what works for you. There's pros and cons of bulletproof coffee. I'm like the biggest pro bulletproof coffee guy there is, though. Like nothing starts my day and gets me focused on work for like 4 or 5 hours like that. So that's something I've just stuck with for a long time. But I think just really committing to the process and actually thinking about how you feel after you eat things. It's really a thing you have to focus on. Like I went for such a huge portion of my life without really noticing this at all. Like, at 2 o'clock I get tired, but I'm never like, what did I just eat? Why do I get tired? Or like you just start sneezing. Now every time I sneeze, I'm like, what did I just eat? And just stuff like that. Just start paying attention. It really, really helps, really adds up, and eventually gets you onto more of like an optimal diet for you.
Yeah. And then mentally, we've come a long way as well. We used to intermittent fast a lot. And for me, like a 4-hour eating window, it felt good to be eating just in 4 hours because I felt like for some reason that was the best way to live my life. But I would binge those 4 hours and I would feel like I was starving myself up until that point, and it just didn't feel natural. And so we've come to a point where now we eat when it feels natural and we don't eat when we're not hungry. And, we don't stick to certain rules because rules just make life more stressful. They make it harder. So if you want to do something today that you didn't do yesterday, that's totally fine. You don't have to live the same day every single day. It's impossible. So I think we've come a long way in terms of how we view food and our relationship with it and just, eating more intuitively.
Yeah, the biggest thing lately, actually, like the highest value advice I could give to someone, if you've been doing the 12 noon to 8 p.m. eating window, like the standard intermittent fast and skip breakfast, it's easy to skip. I would say try switching that up. Eat when you wake up in the morning. Get ahead of the hunger. It stops the rise in cortisol. It just like really does a lot of good things for you, having like a high fat, high protein meal early on in the day. And I think my experience is when I first started doing intermittent fasting, it was working for me. I could calorie restrict a little bit better just because the condensed eating window. But over time, you definitely get diminishing returns on that. Like you're going to just jam your normal amount of food in that eating window. But kind of getting ahead of the hunger, eating when you wake up, you're never as hungry as you would be for that first meal on a day of intermittent fasting. And I don't like feeling like that, like just I need to eat ASAP, like that's all that matters. Just give that a try if you're kind of struggling with intermittent fasting. That would be my advice.
Okay. So let's role play. Okay, that sounds odd. All right. So let's assume my name is Jessica and I have a boyfriend whose name is Tom. And I want to get on a ketogenic diet. I want to get him onto a ketogenic diet. What do I do?
That's the question we get so often, and I don't really know how to answer it. I think it starts with doing some research because you have to have your own belief in this thing as to why it's going to work, or else you're not going to stick with it. When times get tough, you're just going to be like, this probably is just nonsense. It's a fad thing.
I need my carbs.
Yeah. But it starts with the next meal, I'd say. So, try figuring out a good keto meal. Maybe get a handful of go-to meals, 5 or 6 that you can just interchange so you don't get tired of them, but it's also not weighing on you mentally. Like food weighs on people's mind a lot, and it's actually like a huge drainage of energy. So if you can just have a few meals you go to, that'd be a good tip. And I think depending on how you want to approach it, I would say don't worry about calories at all when you're first starting. Just eat keto foods. The calories are going to take care of themselves because restricting calories doesn't work. Like humans are not capable of just eating less. Like it doesn't work like that. So you have to actually just do some repair by eating keto foods. And then naturally your body figures some things out. Like you can calorie restrict for a month or 2. I've done that before, but it's tough and it's not really sustainable long term. So just start eating keto foods.
And then when you are starting, definitely not tracking is a big thing we would encourage, but also just not worrying yourself with like intermittent fasting and trying all these new experiments that you see on KetoConnect's channel. Like don't bother yourself with all that stuff. Try to make it as simple as possible at first. Once you hone in on like what works best for you, then you can start experimenting. And then as far as Tom goes, I would tell Jessica to just lead by example. She can't force Tom to do anything, and it's not going to work. He'll only resent her at the end of the day. So Jessica should just, be healthy, find success, and then Tom will be like, damn, I want that too.
Yeah, I could get into some really dark topics here, but I think I'm going to move away. Do you guys offer some sort of coaching to individuals or companies by any chance?
We don't do coaching of any kind. We do have a keto meal prep course, though. And within that, you can schedule calls with us. We really want to like help you succeed. It has all the macro groundwork kind of calculated for you. It's like 12 different meal plans, and it's basically a 50-day course. You can just repeat it as much as you want, though. You can find that on our website. That's the best bet. And also, so we have a few free meal preps you can try before actually purchasing the meal prep course too, which are great. So you can see if it's something that you like. And if you just like dig around the content we've been putting out for the last year, you can basically learn everything you need to know. We've answered like every question there is multiple times, and a lot of it is just, it's your own journey. You got to do some experimenting for yourself. You can get coaches and all that, and that can help you if it's more of an accountability thing. But as far as just informational, there's not a lot that isn't free.
Yeah, I'd agree. And then we've talked about the whole coaching idea. One, we don't feel fully equipped to do that. Yeah. But two, if we were to do that, we don't think we'd be able to fairly give enough time, because we do so much on our end that we want to provide that's free. Charging someone and then not giving them what they need just doesn't seem fair. Yeah,
because we could speak with someone for an hour, or we could make a video that, maybe 10 or 20,000 people will see.
And just to add a little bit, I give this a total thumbs up because these guys have invested so much time and energy into it. And the best thing is, like we discussed, they're consistently evolving and adding and being self-critical of themselves. And so now that I've had a full conversation with them, I would say if you are new to this diet, or if you know someone who is relatively new to the diet, or wants to get into the diet, then the simplest way would be to go through their website and get their plans. It will easily transition you, and then you can follow them on their various social media accounts. And this will help you create something very important, which is a community. And sometimes if you're going to be alone and you don't have many friends who are also acceptable of this lifestyle, this will keep you really motivated. So thank you guys. You guys are ridiculously awesome. I'm still going to bother you with like a few more questions, and then we're going to call it then. By the way, have we missed out on any topics by any chance?
No, not really.
Yeah, we hit everything.
Okay, fantastic. So here's a question for you, a fun question. If I give either of you $1 billion to buy a gift for someone, what would you buy them? Do you want me to stall people while you're thinking? Sing a song or something?
Megha knows.
No, I think I would buy someone a private island.
Who?
Like a sanctuary. What I would get.
Oh.
Because working on your own business and then living with the person you also go to the gym with and sleep with and eat with, I've realized that like privacy and having your own intimate time is super important to like your entire healthy lifestyle. So I think buying someone maybe a private island, and then I guess also the plane so they could get there, and like building a house on it, just the whole 9 yards with something for their privacy.
Just want to add one more thing. It doesn't have to be with someone you are connected with. As in pair bonded with.
Okay.
So don't give something to the person that's sitting right next to you, by the way.
Oh,
not necessary.
That's what I was going to go with. You can go a bunch of humanitarian ways with this, but I think more of like a fun way. I would probably buy, I was going to say just a plane for Megha so she can travel back and forth to India, but not picking someone directly next to me. I guess I would buy my parents what would I buy them? $1 billion. I guess I would buy
the Eagles or something.
No, my dad doesn't like the football. I guess I would buy my parents a time machine so they could travel back to the mid 70s where life was simpler and, simpler life. No one was dunking in the NBA, so my dad could still, get his jump shots off. My mom was running track. Just give him a time machine to a simpler life.
Yeah. So what time era would you guys like to go back to if you were given the chance?
I'm very pro current time. I think it's the best we've ever had.
Me too.
A lot of people, romanticize different points in history, but I just think it's always been getting better. As much like information as we have about all the terrible things happening, that's just because we have more information. I don't think it's because things are worse.
And a lot of people say they'd like want to go back to the 70s when, there was a lot of just free flowing drugs and all festivals and stuff.
Maybe the 70s, fine.
But the chance of you being a hippie as opposed to a blue collar worker is very unlikely. Matt would just be working a 9 to 5, have a family, and he would hate his life. So the 70s isn't ideal.
That's true.
Uh-oh. Did I just cause a spark in there?
No, I think that's actually very accurate. I never thought about it like that, but I was always like, if we're in the 70s, we're all just doing drugs, right? But it was actually, a pretty small subset of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys see as the future of the keto sphere? Is this going to go farther? Are we going to see some big changes in our country? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I think about this a lot. Obviously, now that our business is so tied to keto, it's because, diets always go up and down. There's these ins and outs of different diets. I personally, there's objective truth to a keto diet that just actually works, and it's, kind of proven. So in that sense, I think everything in the past was more on loose ground. Like Atkins had a lot of things right, but I think we've taken it to the next level to just kind of making it more sustainable. Like the high fat, you really get high energy. You don't feel as bad all the time. So I think it's only going to get more prominent and better. And people, with every new tale of like a person losing 200 pounds, a person reversing their type 2 diabetes, it's going to just become more and more accepted. And I think the big thing is, it was actually cool. We had a guy today on our podcast who reversed type 2 diabetes, and he was telling his story, and he was like, yeah, so after my 3-month checkup, I was taking off all my medicine, and my doctor was actually like, what did you do? He wasn't just like, oh, you're doing that weird thing, let me just throw more pills at you. He's actually seems like people are trying to learn on what is actually, the solution to all of these problems in our modern society. So I would have to say, of course, I'm going to say this, though. I think it's going to just become more and more prominent. People are going to get on board. It's probably not going to be like a total overtaking of everyone's on keto, but definitely limiting carbs, limiting processed carbs. Like everyone's trying to stay away from bread and do gluten-free and all these things. Those are all steps in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that's going to happen anytime soon. So it's really hard to gauge, when things are going to actually change drastically. But there's just more and more research showing that fat is beneficial. And Dr. Asim Malhotra, actually, he's someone definitely to follow. I would recommend. Writes a ton of great articles, and he's very knowledgeable, and he has a whole team. And so I think more and more doctors, younger ones especially, more progressive doctors, are speaking out. And I think there'll be an overall consensus at some point. But I can't even imagine even in 10 years we'll be there. It'll be a while.
Yeah, things always take longer than you think they're going to take.
Well, with you people leading the charge and the fact that you've created such a sphere of influence in social media, which really brings the younger generation together, I think that makes a huge difference. And this is one of the reasons that I would love to do anything that would empower you guys further on this journey. After all, I think there's a bigger picture that can be painted, which is helping humanity and making people healthier. And I think that's what drives and challenges a lot of these existing infrastructures. I mean, life could be just fine. People are dying, but I think some people realize let's do something right.
Yeah.
So
more and more.
Definitely. So do you guys have some sort of final message for humans, aliens, anyone?
You're very existential with this, which I like. I think my biggest message is really just self-improvement, nonstop self-improvement. No matter where you're at today, it's you can only make so much progress the next day. And we humans are always in this mindset of today I'm here, tomorrow I want to be 100 miles down the road. I want to take these exogenous ketones because they do keto to my body, so it happens faster. There's always looking for the fast thing when it's really just the slow thing. You have to embrace the slow thing. You have to do the same thing every single day repeatedly. Just win the day. Be action oriented. So set your goals based on actions, not on results. As in, today I'm going to eat a keto diet. That's an action that you can attain. You can succeed at the end of the day. If your goals are all these things that come from results, you're expecting things, you're expecting results. Not so much. Like, even if you're setting a goal of, I want to lose 50 pounds in 6 months, you can't 100% control that. You can do your best. You can eat keto every single day, but that doesn't guarantee you the results. You just have to trust the process, embrace the journey. It's going to be boring. It's going to be slow, but just keep going.
Well said. And I guess just to top that, just find people and things in your life that help reduce stress. Stress plays a big role in weight gain, weight loss, in mental health, in your relationships around you. So if you can reduce stress in any way, I would say just take that opportunity.
And how can people find you guys?
KetoConnect.net is the main place. That's our food blog. If you're interested in any of like the experiments and stuff we've been talking about, that would be at our YouTube channel. And then we just recently started a podcast. We're going to have Fahad on it soon. Keto For Normies.
All right, fantastic. You guys have been awesome, great human beings. Always be one of the people that we will recommend and follow because your mindset is awesome, amazing. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening to the show. You can visit us at ketogeek.com to check out our premium keto-friendly and low-carb food products, including our infamous energy pods, made from the best ingredients we could find in the entire country. We also recommend signing up for our newsletter at ketogeek.com/signup, where you get exclusive discounts, rewards, product announcements, and the latest content we are working on. You also get a 10% discount on your entire order when you sign up. Go to ketogeek.com/signup to join the low-carb playground.